Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest betting edition of the Baseball Insiders. It is myself, Ian McMillan, at Ian MacBets, joined by Peter Dewey, at Peter Dewey2. We're going to be talking the Rays and Mets series. We're going to give our quick series preview and then our best bet for all three games. If you missed yesterday's episode with Adam and Robert, you can check that out. They talked MLB trade line, the early ongoings of that, obviously still a couple months away, but talk about some potential players that could be moved there. And they will also be back live at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday as well. So if you are watching this on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe right now. Click the notifications button so you know when we go live. This is, I think, the fourth edition of the betting version of this, Peter. We talked Jays, Yankees the first time, Mets, Braves, and we talked last time Brewers and
Dodgers.
Do you know how your bets did in that series?
I did. I hit game one. I hit the Brewers money line, and game three, I hit Dodgers money line. Had the over in game two, over 9. It finished 8-2 or 6-2. So missed that one, but I'll take a 2 out of 3 in that series for sure.
I keep meaning to go back and look at our records for these picks. I think we're profitable though. I think we're doing well. I will try to remember to do that before the next time that we do this. But we got a midweek series here. Between a little interleague matchup. We got the Mets from the NL, the Rays from the AL, the best team in Major League Baseball right now, the Tampa Bay Rays. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a 3-game series. Now, unfortunately, in this scenario, we only have odds for today's game, Tuesday's game. The Rays have not announced a starter for tomorrow's game, and we don't have odds for Thursday's game either, but we are still going to make picks for it. We generally know probably who's going to be favored and around what the total will be set at, so we can still make picks for it. But let's have a quick series preview here. Peter, why don't you quickly talk about the Rays? I will say I'll cover the Mets because I've brought this up before. Mets are my National League team. I got to wear my Mets hoodie and my fake Mets hat. That is uncomfortable every time that we talk about the Mets. So I'll cover the Mets. You give us what's going on with the Rays right now.
Yeah, as you said, Rays' best record in baseball, been off to a great start, but they do have a little bit of concern in the rotation. It's why we don't have a starter for game 2. Jeffrey Springs is going to undergo Tommy John surgery, and Drew Rasmussen, who's been one of their better young pitchers, he was placed on the 60-day IL immediately after his start against the Yankees, where he threw 7 scoreless with a flexor strain. He might also need Tommy John. So 2 guys that they were really counting on, and we're both having great starts to the season, done for the year. So that, I think, is a huge blow. I think just as over the course of the season, like when you don't have the top line pitching, like you're relying on either whether it's prospects or in the Rays case, they love to use openers. It's a little bit more volatile than when you have those top guys. But they still are, one of the best teams in baseball, regardless of if those guys are playing. And obviously they have the best record at this point. I believe they're still first in baseball in OPS. So still in a good spot, but those injuries could catch up to them by the end of the season.
Yeah, the Rays historically have always done better than people expect them to preseason. Usually it's based on strong pitching, but their offense this year, the best offense in baseball through the first month and a half, which has been the surprising part about the Rays this time around. The Mets, not so hot so far this season, 20-22 heading into this series, 4th in the NL East. Not good at all, and it's mainly because of their offense. Offense has been terrible, 19th in OPS, 23rd in runs scored. And their pitching has fallen off a little bit. Justin Verlander has been back. He will actually pitch tonight's game. He gave up, wasn't it back-to-back home runs in his first start? He did recover. The Mets, I believe, went on to win that game. Max Scherzer has not been good. We knew some regression was going to come from him eventually, just with his age. And through his first 6 starts, obviously only 6 starts, still pretty early here into his season, but a 4.88 ERA, 5.66 FIP, not good for Max Scherzer. Like I said, still early, and it doesn't look like we likely won't see him in this series, so they don't need to worry about that too much here in this series. But it will be interesting to see what Justin Verlander brings in his second start since returning from injury where he missed the first month plus of the season. Some quick futures odds for these two teams. Rays already near locks to make the MLB postseason, minus 1,600. So if you're not a bettor, that means you got to bet $1,600 on the Rays to win $100 for them to make the MLB playoffs. Not a bet I would recommend making. Mets still favored despite their slow start, minus 165 to make the playoffs. When you look at World Series odds, the Rays 6-1. Is that the betting favorite now, Peter?
No, they're third, I
Yes,
believe.
it is the Braves, it is the Dodgers, and then the Rays. The Rays are the favorites out of the AL teams, but 2 NL teams are above them. The Mets, they have fallen off. I think they're around 10-1 to start the year, somewhere around that, down to 16-1 now to win the World Series. And let's take a look at some divisional odds here. The Rays favorites -160 to win the AL East. I do not like that. It's way too early in a season to make a team a -160 favorite, in my opinion. And the Mets have fallen, still number 2, but Braves -450 favorites, massive favorites, the biggest divisional favorite in Major League Baseball right now to win the NL East. Mets still second at 7-1, Phillies 8-1, Marlins 30-1, and the Nationals 400-1. Don't waste your money betting on that. We also have series odds to win this series between the Rays and the Mets. This one is surprising to me, Peter. Interested to hear your thoughts on this before we dive into game by game. Mets are actually -130 favorites to win this series against the best team in baseball. Maybe a little bit of a momentum changer for the Mets if they can manage to do just that. It is a 3-game series, so there will be a winner. There will be no tie in this situation. One of the 2 teams will win at least 2 games. What do you think about that with the Mets being favorites to win this series?
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with it just based on, and we'll talk about it with all 3 of these games, based on who the Rays are going to have on the mound. We just don't really know how consistent some of these openers are going to be. They're going to have to rely heavily on their bullpen in this series. And they do have Verlander going game 1. He's only allowed 3 runs in his 2 starts so far this season. So I think if you're the Mets, if they win tonight, they're going to be in a great spot. If they lose tonight, those odds will definitely flip in favor of the Rays. But I can see it. I think that this is a spot where the Mets, pick up 2 wins that's going to feel like big wins too, if they can do it. And they've been off to a slow start, but there's still only 6 games out in the division. It's very, very much alive there. So I don't mind it. I think they're going to be able to turn it
Yes,
around.
and I appreciate you correcting me because I did. Justin Verlander has had 2 starts. I think I said 1 start, and I think I melded the 2 starts into 1 game in my head because they actually did lose his first start when he gave up back-to-back home runs in the first inning. The Mets got 0 runs that entire game, lost 2-0. So those were the 2 deciding runs right in the very first inning. And then he did have a better start in his second time out against the Reds. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 1-earned run, and the Mets won 2-1. So neither game they actually gave him very little run support. 1-on-1 though. Not exactly playing or pitching against strong opponents though in his first 2 starts. So we'll see how that goes tonight. Let's get into tonight. Game 1 of the series between the Mets and the Rays starts at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. Jalen Beeks is going for the Tampa Bay Rays to face Verlander. The Mets are favorites -155, meaning you have to bet $155 on the Mets to win $100 or $15.50 to win $10. The Rays coming in at +135 underdogs. The total setting at 8.5. Pretty high total in my mind with Verlander pitching and with how bad this Mets offense has been. But Peter, where do you go here for this for Game 1 Tuesday night?
Yeah, I agree with you. Pretty high total. I'm going to take the under here. I know he hasn't faced tough competition, but Verlander has looked very good through his first 2 starts. Only 7 hits, 3 earned runs across those 2 outings. And you look at this Rays team, they're top 6 in the league in bullpen ERA. They actually clock in at 6. So Jalen Beeks is going to be an opener here. He's had 3 starts so far this season where he's been the opener and a bunch of relief appearances as well. In those 3 spots as an opener, 7 innings, 1 earned run. So he's doing his job when he's starting these games. And then obviously he's going to turn it over to a great bullpen. And I think the concern for the Rays maybe going on in this series, if they do end up going opener, we obviously don't know the starter yet for Game 2, is that the bullpen is going to be taxed eventually by the time you get to that 3rd game. But in the first game, not as much. So I think this is a spot where we're going to see a good pitching performance on both sides. As we mentioned, the Mets have really struggled on offense, 23rd in runs scored so far this season. And you look at both games Verlander started, they only scored 5 combined runs between the 2 teams in those games. Yeah. So way under in both of those games. I'm going to go under here with at 8.5. I would have probably set it at 7.5, to be honest.
Yeah, if I was betting on the total, I'd go under, but I personally just can't resist betting on the best team in baseball as a plus 135 underdog. I don't care who's starting for them. So I'm going to take the Rays as underdogs here in this spot. And maybe I'm getting scared because of the way Max Scherzer has regressed through his first 6 starts, but I'm not completely convinced that Justin Verlander is going to put up the same type of numbers that he did last year when he won the Cy Young Award. Once again, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm just thinking of those 2 dingers that he gave up at the start of the game against the Tigers, but he faced the Tigers and the Reds in his first 2 starts. Yeah, he recovered against the Tigers and he had a great game against the Reds, but now he has to face against arguably the best offense in baseball, a team that's leading in OPS, I believe 2nd in runs scored in the Rays. So even just based on offense alone, we're talking about a team that is arguably the best offense in baseball against a team that's in the bottom half, if not bottom 10 in most offensive categories in the Mets. I do think the Mets at some point, I mean, I think they're more talented than what their numbers have shown. I think we will see some positive regression from them maybe in the next couple of games. But I'm just looking at the team with the best record in baseball. I'm seeing them plus 135 underdogs against a team that has struggled this season, especially offensively. And I like your point, Peter, as well, that with Beeks being an opener, that might cause some bullpen fatigue issues down the road and maybe games 2 and game 3. But in game 1, especially against Verlander, they're going to want to put out their top options out there to keep pace with Verlander. So I'm going to take a shot at on the Rays as underdogs. I'm sitting here in my Mets sweater and Mets hat. I got to bet against them, though. Let's not overthink this. It's the best team in baseball. Plus 135 underdogs. Now, if it's like a pick 'em, minus 110 apiece, sure, I can make an argument the other way. But I think Verlander's being I think the Mets are being a little bit overvalued because Verlander is starting. Hey, we could see another situation. Verlander gives up only 2 runs and still lose the game like they did against the Tigers. So pitching isn't everything. I generally just kind of like to fade the top big name pitchers in Major League Baseball because I think betting odds overvalue them. So I will take the Rays plus 135 underdogs in game 1.
Don't mind it. Don't mind it.
All right. Now, usually for game 2, we usually have odds for it when we do the show. We don't in this case because the Rays have not announced their starter. Most likely it's going to be another bullpen opener type of situation, we're assuming. But the Mets have at least announced their starter. It is Kodai Senga. Did I mispronounce that?
I think that's right.
I think I at least got it close enough. So because the Rays have not announced a starter, we have no odds for this game. We don't have money line. Don't have a total. I would guess the Rays are probably going to be slight favorites in this one, still on the road. Obviously, they don't have to take on Justin Verlander in this one. So I'm going to guess Rays would be around minus 130-ish, minus 135-ish. I'd guess the total is going to hover right around the same, probably 8.5 in this one as well. So Peter, as long as you agree with where those odds probably are going to be, which way would you side in this one?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm going to take the Rays on the money line here. This is like I said, it's a little bit of a dart throw because you don't know the pitcher. I think if they don't use Yanni Chirinos tonight after Jalen Beeks, then he might be the opener tomorrow, but they could use him tonight and then he wouldn't pitch tomorrow. So it's going to be, he's been one of those guys that they've kind of thrown in there, but we really don't know. They could also make a move and call up a prospect. So I think that kind of have to factor that in. But I still like the Rays here. And the big reason why is I just don't think Senga, this is a good matchup for him. He has walked 23 batters in his 7 starts so far this season. He ranks in the 10th percentile in walk percentage. Now you're facing the best offense in baseball, number 1 in OPS, and you're going to give them free base runners. Don't like that at all. Senga has got a 4.14 ERA, 4.95 FIP, 3 starts so far out of his 7 with at least 4 runs allowed, 39th percentile in expected ERA. I just don't think you can get away with that against this Rays offense, no matter who they have on the mound. And we talked about it, like, depending upon how this game 1 goes, like, they have the 6th best bullpen in baseball, the Rays. So if maybe they win big tonight, they don't have to use their big arms. Maybe they lose tonight, they don't have to use their big arms. But I wouldn't just count out the bullpen just because it would be back-to-back bullpen games, even though there could be some fatigue there. So I like them to win this game. I think even with no matter who they have on the mound, I don't think they're going to be at a massive pitching disadvantage. And they definitely have the offensive advantage, so I'll take them to win.
All right, I'm going to be going on the total in this one. I'm going to go over. I think there obviously at least a little bit of be some bullpen fatigue, at least a tiny bit. You have to think there's at least going to be a little bit. And I'm not sold on Senga either. I agree with all the points that you made. The other thing that I would add with him is that he has not faced a top tier offense yet at all. And he has 7 starts, and his numbers aren't impressive. 4.14 ERA, 4.95 FIP, but yet he's played the Marlins twice, the Oakland Athletics, the San Francisco Giants, the Washington Nationals, the Colorado Rockies at home, so it wasn't at Coors Field, and then the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, it's not
like
good.
not he hasn't played like a top 10 offense, maybe not even a top 15 offense in the majors yet. Now he has to take on arguably the top offense. And like I said, his numbers against these subpar, bottom tier offenses already aren't good. So yeah, I think the Rays are going to have a good game on offense. I think the Mets offense, like I said earlier, I think we are going to see some positive regression from them. They're too talented to keep being a bottom half of the majors offense at some point. Maybe it is in this series, but at some point they're going to get hot. And with this being the Rays being in a weird pitching situation, I think this could be the series their offense turns around a little bit. So I'm going to guess the total in this game is probably going to be around 8.5. It's probably going to be the same-ish for all 3 games, maybe even 9. Regardless, I will take the over in game 2 on Wednesday night.
I like that play.
Thursday, we've got a matinee matchup on Thursday to close out the series. It is Fleming against Megill. We believe, obviously, things can change between now and Thursday, so don't absolute quote us on that, but that looks like that's what the matchup is going to be. Afternoon game on Thursday, close it out. Could be the series on the line. Peter, what way are you going for game 3?
Yeah, so I jump back and forth between taking a play on the total and taking a game. And I know I said that this is a series the Mets could win, but I'm going to take the Rays to win this one.
I noticed earlier you said that, and then I saw your picks were the Rays twice. So
yeah, so I do think, like, I still, going back to the series, I do think, especially if the Mets win tonight, they could win one of these 2 games just because we don't know who the Rays. We know Fleming in this game, but he's also kind of like an opener, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So there is a chance the Mets can win 2 games, but I like the Rays in this game as well. And again, it comes down to the pitching matchup. You look at Megill, at least 3 earned runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts. He's 13th percentile in Major League Baseball in expected ERA, 14th percentile in expected batting average against, 17th percentile in walk percentage, so very similar to Senga in that aspect, and 26th in slugging percentage. Like, the Rays have hit a ton of home runs this year. If you're not going to be able to induce weak contact and you're just going to be giving up a bunch of hits, giving up a bunch of extra base hits, it's going to be a problem against this offense. They are going to capitalize against you. And the opposite can be said for Fleming. Not sure how long he's going to go here, but you look at some of his game logs this year, he's pitched like 5 innings at times, 6 innings at times in relief. So I think he's going to be able to give them some length here. He's a converted he was started for them previously, so he's a kind of a converted starter. I could see him giving him at least 4 innings here. And if that's the case, Mets are just 21st in Major League Baseball in OPS against lefties. So their offense has been bad this year. It's even worse against left-handed pitching. And Fleming, we talk about inducing weak contact, 92nd percentile in barrel percentage. So people are not barreling him up, even though he's 50th in expected ERA. Like, he's not getting knocked around too much. So I think he's the better pitcher here. I don't mind a play maybe on the first 5 on the Rays instead, but I'm just going to go full game money line here because I do trust the Rays bullpen. And if Fleming does give them 6, maybe that limits some of that bullpen fatigue that we were talking about. So give me the Rays here.
All right, I'm going to go with the same bet. I guess we both are doing both same bets for game 2 and game 3 because I'm going to take the over again for this one. Rays pitching situation, very tough to predict this many games out with the injuries they've had. I got to think their bullpen's going to be a little bit fatigued here, but even if you just look at the starters, neither have posted good numbers this season. And if you look at FIP, if FIP is any indication, they actually should be even worse, especially with Megill, who has a 4.02 ERA but a 5.24 FIP. Fleming drops from a 4.26 ERA to a 4.79 FIP. So not as big of a difference, but still slightly worse than what his ERA is. And the Rays, another point for the Rays that I haven't brought up yet, the best road offense in Major League Baseball in terms of runs per game, 6.4 road runs per game. That is 0.4 more per game than what they score at home. It is also 0.29 more than the next best road team in the majors, which is the Texas Rangers, who are surprisingly having extremely good year. So Rays road offense, I think by the third game, their bullpen is going to be banged up a little bit. I don't like either of the starting pitchers. I'll go with the over in that game as well.
I like it. I think the Mets offense hasn't been good this year, but it also doesn't help that guys like Megill, I know they've had David Peterson up a ton, like have not pitched well. So they're not even giving their offense a break in some of these games. Like it's just been, and then of course the Verlander starts when he has pitched well, they weren't able to score. So
right. The Mets pitching to start the year has been a disaster. Scherzer hasn't been good. Verlander's been hurt up until now. Jose Quintana was hurt there before the season started. So it's been a disaster for the Mets so far. But if you trust us, if you trust the sports books who have them favored to win this series, could be a momentum changer. You got Verlander back. Scherzer starts playing a little bit better, even though he's not going to play this series. You got lots of time for the Mets to turn things around.
There's plenty.
So there you have it. Just to quickly recap our picks. Game 1. Peter, you're on the under 8.5, which is tonight, Tuesday night. I'm on the Rays as underdogs, plus 135. Game 2 on Wednesday. Peter, you're on the Rays. I'm on the over. And Game 3, a matinee matchup on Thursday. Peter, you're on the Rays again. I'm on the over again. There you have it. I do have one really quick question here, Peter, before we close this off. I know we're running a little long here, but how do you feel that Aaron Judge has been proven to be a cheater? He cheated against my Toronto Blue Jays last night. Any thoughts on the captain of your team, the MVP, the Yankees already stink, and now your best player got caught cheating? Thoughts on that? How long should he be suspended for? How many seasons should the Yankees be kicked out of the league for? Your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think he was cheating. I think it was the pitches were being tipped by either Kirk, the catcher, or the pitcher, and somebody in the dugout. My guess, and I saw that this is what the Jays said that they assumed was happening. My guess is there was something that the pitcher was doing, whether it was with his motion, with his glove, something that was telling them what pitch he was going to throw, and somebody in the dugout was confirming it to Judge, and he was glancing over to see if he can confirm it. I didn't play baseball at a very high level. I played in high school. I know we used to do this when pitchers would tip pitches, and we would either be the first base coach or the dugout would have a signal or a voice call out, like when we knew what pitch was coming. So that's kind of what I took it as. I also noticed that in that at bat, he faced 5 consecutive sliders, and the one he hit the home run on was a hanging slider right down the middle. So they could have just been knowing he's going slider again and again and again. But I don't think he was cheating. It was not an Astro scenario. I don't know how much he could have picked up by just glancing over that quickly. So I think it was a very simple tipping pitches.
Convenient excuse. Yeah, I think the Alek Manoah experience is not going well for the Blue Jays. His slider has been terrible this year. That's been his go-to pitch in his first 2 years when he was like a borderline Cy. Well, last year he was a Cy Young candidate, and now he sucks.
But a lot of time though. A lot of time. It's only May.
All right, this has been Baseball Insiders Betting Edition. We'll be back at some point in the near future to talk another series. Probably won't be the Mets for the 3rd time, but thank you so much for watching and listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. And Adam and Robert will be back 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Tune in then. Until next time, gamble or bless.